Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Del Barzi. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey, from students to retirees and anywhere in between. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Yvette Twum-Danso. Dr. Danso has more than 25 years experience. She's a certified legal nurse consultant. She's an entrepreneur. She's the CEO and founder of TD Legal Nurse Consultant LLC. Welcome, 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 Dr. Twum-Danso.
Thank you, Dale. I appreciate you having me here today. It's been an honor.
It is my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I love to talk to nurses. But firstly, why are you a nurse?
Why am I a nurse? I thought about this ever since I was a little girl. I've always had the ability to serve. I remember when I was little, I would put bandages on my Barbie dolls and on my stuffed animals. And I would use my mother's red fingernail polish to mimic blood. And she would say, "What are you doing, Yvette?" I'm like, "Well, I'm nursing my patients. I'm their nurse." So I never played school nursing. I never played schoolhouse. It was always nursing. So I think it's more so of a innate. It's truly my calling. I love to serve others. I love to give back to the community. So that's where I think the heart of nursing came. I think is more so of an innate process for me.
I get that. And so you always wanted to do this, but when you got to do this, well, I have two questions here. One of this, was it what you thought it would be? And B, what are the big challenges for you?
Yes, nursing has been an amazing profession for me. It's done well for me, and I hope I've contribute back. And so some of the challenges, I will speak from the early on stage over 27 years ago. After I finished my bachelor's degree, we have to sit for our NCLEX exam. So we had study groups, we had the resources, everyone passed but me. That was the first attempt. The second attempt, I did a different study group, same resources. I failed again. So after that, you start having these mental challenges. You start going into a depression mode. Why me? Everybody that I'm studying with are passing their NCLEX. I wanted to be a nurse. Why is this not happening for me? So hindsight 2020, I decided to study individually on my own. I really took the time to learn what I needed to learn to pass the NCLEX, the resources, the CD-ROMs, and the conferences. And eventually I passed on the third try. And so I vowed that I will always be a life learner. I will always give back to the nursing profession. Even though I had that challenge, that hiccup, I wasn't a failure. It wasn't a setback. It was just a temporary hold pattern. So I would like to share, if any nursing student is going through the same challenges that I went through over 27 years ago, you're not a failure. You're not stupid. You are a nurse and you will succeed. You just have to continue to plow through and just take the courses, take the conferences, take the review courses, whatever you need to do to get done to successfully pass that NCLEX exam. And once you pass, it's an amazing feeling. And you will always remember that feeling. And ironically, my close friends and family are aware about me failing my NCLEX, but not too many. So I just shared a personal testimony for the whole world on your podcast. So hopefully it will encourage others to not give up on their dream.
It will, absolutely will. And the thing with that is, yes, we need the NCLEX, yes, we need the piece of paper. At the end of the day, though, it is not an indication of what kind of nurse you are. It's just an exam.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But can you imagine a 21-year-old? We don't think that way at that age. But as you age up, wisdom starts to set in, life experiences start to set in. And now at 51, it doesn't matter. but I didn't know that then at the age of 21 when I was
I know.
studying to become a nurse. So it is growing pains, and eventually you get to that point where you realize the NCLEX will not make or break you as a nurse. It's what you put into the profession.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. But it's so easy for that to derail you.
Absolutely.
So, what areas have you worked?
When I first became a nurse, I worked in critical care, the intensive care unit, and then I did traveling nursing for a while. And then I joined the Army Reserves, and I was an Army nurse in the United States Army Corps nursing component. So I really enjoyed that. And currently I'm working in cardiology, which I absolutely love. It's one of my passions, cardiology. So I've worked in multiple areas as a case manager in outpatient setting in the cardiac catheterization suite. I did a little bit of the OR post bypass surgery.
Yeah.
So a lot of experiences. Yes, it's been a wonderful journey.
And that is a big thing about nursing. It provides you with so many different avenues,
Absolutely.
each one developing a different part of yourself, even though it is nursing, each one developing a different part of you, That's
True.
so huge, huge. Having,
Absolutely.
having done so many things though, in so many different areas, what would you like to see change, if anything?
I would like to see nursing services become billable hours. That is my
Mm-hmm.
vision. I would love to see that. We build physical therapy, we
Mm-hmm.
build occupational therapy, we build pharmacy, we build dietary, nutritional services, but nursing services are all inclusive in the hospitalization stay. So
Mm-hmm.
my vision, my goal is to see nurses services to be billed in its own separate entity. Imagine if you have an intensive care unit nurse who has multiple certifications, such as their
Yeah.
trauma certification. I once held that when I was a trauma nurse, very similar to orthopedic surgeons,
Yeah.
very similar to a cardiologist, whether they're interventional or non-interventional. We bill according to their expertise. So I would love to see insurance companies and Congress pass that law that nursing services are billed in their own separate entity. And once they pass that law, I think the healthcare systems will have a lot more respect for nursing. We will have different conversations. Our voices will matter. We will be invited to the table and to those boardroom meetings because now we're generating revenue for the
Yeah.
hospital system. So that's my goal and my vision for nursing to become billable hours.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And we're gonna have to push. We're gonna have to push. I mean, after all, we built for band-aids, you know. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So why not bill for nursing services? We have a lot of expertise in nursing. We are the primary caregivers and takers and advocacy for our patients. We're there 12 plus hours. So why not bill for our services? I think once the hospital learn that we are valuable and our expertise will bring a huge economic benefit. I think that will happen eventually, but in the next 10 years, that's a goal. That would be a wonderful goal to see come to fruition for sure.
yeah, I can't. I'm beginning to try and see it, and already I can see the pushback. We're gonna have to drag people kicking and screaming to this, you
Yes,
know.
it's a process. I mean,
Yeah.
look, if you want to say, look at the advanced practice providers, the nurse practitioners.
Mhm.
In some states they have the independent,
Yeah.
practice authority. It took a
Yeah.
long time to get to that point. So I'm very hopeful. The rules and regulations are changing, and healthcare systems, Congress, nurses, we all have to come to that meeting of the minds to say what's going to give us the best impact for that patient to meet their outcome. So they don't have a revolving door of in and out of the hospital and multiple readmission hospital stays and extended hospitalization. So eventually it will happen. I just don't know when, but my goal is to see that in the next 10 years for sure.
All right, all right. And when you see it, hit me up and say, Dale, it's done.
Absolutely. I'm speaking it into the atmosphere. Absolutely.
All right. And so in all of this also, though, you got into the legal field. You have a legalness consultancy. You're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Why? What drew you to the legal aspect of it?
I've always been intrigued with the legal system in US. I know my husband's from West Africa, so their legal system is completely different than ours. But our legal system is very interesting. We have a lot of rules and regulations, and it's always been an interest of mine. So now I'm able to combine both my two passions, my two interests, legal and nursing. And I started my business, TD Legal Nurse Consultant, 18 months ago, and it's been an amazing journey. I've had a huge support system from my family and friends. LinkedIn has been very welcoming. I've learned so much with the attorneys. They're very appreciative of my nursing expertise. My colleagues on LinkedIn, it's just been an amazing journey. And 17 years ago, I was a trauma patient when I was pregnant with our daughter. So I was able to see the advocacy, how lawyers advocate for their patients or their clients at that time. And I was 15 weeks pregnant. So I definitely saw and witnessed firsthand when an attorney is a true advocate for their clients, what the outcome, not only the financial, but just giving them that peace of mind that they can heal and recover while their legal cases are being covered in an ethical standard manner with the attorney and his team. So those are my reasons for creating and developing and implementing TD Legal Nurse Consultant, but I can do this forever. I absolutely love it.
And I'm glad you stated it in such a positive way as people being really sincere advocates for their clients. Because very often when you think of lawyers in the medical arena, it very often is perceived as being very adversarial.
True.
And not necessarily is that always the case.
That's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. But in my experience, I've had wonderful experiences with my attorney clients. I learn from them. They learn from me, and it's a mutual benefit for sure. So their client can have the best outcome, whether it's on the defense side or whether it's on the plaintiff side. The goal is definitely to make sure that their client has the best legal representation.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So what would you say, having done all of this, and I know that there is more to come, but what would you say is your greatest achievement so far?
Definitely defending my PhD.
Okay.
That's been my greatest achievement. It took me 10 years to complete my PhD. Now, that was a journey. And you have a lot of trials and tribulations. At least I did on my doctoral journey. My father was diagnosed with cancer and ultimately passed away. I became very ill, had multiple blood clots, pulmonary embolisms, deep vein thrombosis. I was hospitalized for over 3 months. So it was definitely a challenging experience, but when you defend and they put that hood and you walk across the stage, knowing that you have earned your doctoral degree in nursing, it's the most amazing feeling in the world that I have contributed to the nursing profession, not just in the clinical aspect, but in the academia world and the research world, because that's the ultimate goal for me, is to give back to the nursing profession.
I get that, because so many times in this short conversation, you have used the word contributes. I have contributed. I want to contribute. So I get that.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. That's the goal.
Yeah. What advice, nursing, has we talk about the long hours and how many people are talking about burnout and stuff like that. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to be a nurse?
The advice that I would give is have patience with yourself, forgive yourself, definitely become a life learner. Take the conferences, go to the conferences, take the courses. Even if your healthcare system won't reimburse you, do it anyway.
Right.
That professional development, that personal development will definitely give you more of a peace of mind, knowing you're doing it from your heart, and learn how to do the balance challenge. It's not always easy working 12-hour shifts. I did it for many, many years. I did 12-hour night shift for many, many years. But somehow we have to be able to carve out some balance. Some weeks may be a little easier than others, depending on the nature of life. But if we can carve out and learn how to balance the profession with our personal interests and our personal goals, I think the burnout will be a little less. And know your self-worth for sure. Definitely know your self-worth. Make sure you stay on the forefront of keeping your own personal mental state at peace, because peace is not negotiable. That's a non-negotiable for me. My peace of mind is not negotiable. And that's what I
Awesome.
would definitely tell anyone who's going into the nursing profession. It's a beautiful profession, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. But you also have to learn, as you're advocating for others, advocate for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Indeed, you mentioned self-worth, which a lot of us seem to just gloss over
Yes,
because we really don't have any idea. And that really is, I think, one of the goals of this when I talk to nurses. I want us to see nurses. I want to see what nurses are doing. I know that you can do that and you have that. You can
mhm,
do this. You can.
absolutely. Absolutely, for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So, what do you do for self-care? Well, first of all, what does it mean to you anyway? Because it means different things to different people. What does it mean to you?
That's true. Self-care for me means loving myself unconditionally, forgiving myself unconditionally. We're human. We're going to make mistakes, flaws and all. I have to be able to love myself. I have to be able to forgive myself, and knowing that my best is enough. That's my definition of self-care. And self-care, it comes in different variety, depending on the stage and age of life. Our
Mhm.
daughter, she's going to be graduating from high school, entering her college years, so we'll be empty nesters. So self-care will be a little different for us next year than what it is right now. But ultimately, do what brings you happiness, whether it's within nursing or whether it's non-nursing activities. You can do both.
Mhm.
And as long as you know that you are forgiven, that you are loved, and your best is enough, any self-care act, I'm good. I'm welcome. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you talk about forgiving oneself. It's not the easiest thing.
No, it's not. And it's something that we constantly have to train our brain cells, our minds to constantly do. I
Yeah.
always tell folks, love yourself like you love others. We tend to put everything on a back
Mhm.
burner, especially
Yes.
nurses, because we are
Mhm.
true caregivers. We are
Yeah.
true servant leaders, and we are compassionate and we advocate. But in the meanwhile, we forget about our own individual
Yeah.
selves. And
Yeah.
I think that contributes a little bit to the burnout, in additional to a pandemic, whether it's the COVID pandemic, whether it's the flu outbreak, whatever's happening in the world, if we don't remember to care for ourselves, that will add on and compound more of the burnout and the
Yeah.
stress.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And so many times we don't remember to care for ourselves. And
Absolutely.
and as other people have brought up on this very thing, is that very often we accept things for ourselves that we would never accept for our patients.
Yes, that's true.
And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's just coming back full circle, knowing your self-worth. So you're
Mhm.
not going to tolerate disrespect, whether it's from colleagues, whether it's from a healthcare system, because we tell our patients not to do that. We tell our
Mhm.
patients, go home and make sure you're not in an abusive relationship, whether it's physical or
Yeah.
mental. Well, we have to take our own advice as well,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because
We
our
can.
peace is non-negotiable.
Right, right, right. And many of us spend, 12 hours for 16 hours a day in very uncomfortable spots.
That's true. Absolutely. That is
Yeah.
true.
I've been asking nurses, what is, if they could describe the most essential quality of a nurse, what would that word be? What they think as the most essential quality of a nurse, what would that word be?
For me, compassion.
Compassion. Hmm.
Compassion. We see individuals at their weakest moment. We see them at their most vulnerable moment.
Yes.
And it took a while, but I learned not to take things personally, because whatever state of mind they're in, it's not directed at me, it's indirectly towards me, but compassion.
Hmm.
And I've been a patient, and healthcare systems is pretty scary.
Hmm.
We give the patient so much information. Sometimes the sensory overload is
Yeah.
information overload. We use a lot
Hmm.
of acronyms, big
Hmm.
words, big terminology. And in the hustle and the bustle of things, we just have to have compassion for others. Sometimes the educational piece may take longer than we expected. The family members may be concerned. They may have a lot of questions. They may not know how to channel their anxiety, and it may come off as an abrupt, offensive
Yeah.
manner, but we can't take it personally. But yet we have to be safe as well. So you have to be able to be compassionate, but also make sure you're safe as well, because we don't want harm to come to the nurse either. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a challenge, but the word that I would use is compassion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in all of that, leave a little bit of that for ourselves, a little bit of that compassion.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Um, it's it takes so much. It takes so much to be a nurse.
Yes.
That, you know, I don't even know if the word embodies what it requires. So many times we step into this and we think we always wanted to do this, only to find when we got there that, hey, I didn't even really know what it was.
Absolutely. True.
I didn't even,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's true. I think sometimes the perception is not, it doesn't equal our reality. So I always encourage high school students, or even junior high, I'm dating myself, but middle school students, if they're interested in the healthcare field, I think they need to experience it, whether it's volunteering, whether it's
Yeah,
taking some healthcare programs out there in the community, but to give them some reality, some exposure prior to investing a lot of time, money, and effort and energy into the healthcare programs, whether it's nursing, whether it's being a medical doctor, whether it's physical therapy. But that way, they will have an understanding what happens in the day,
yeah.
in the life of a nurse, in that healthcare professional. So they can say, well, maybe this is not for me, or yeah, this is definitely for
Def-
me. But it will give them that exposure and that experience before they enter the true academia investment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that exposure really would be invaluable. Really be valuable.
True, I agree.
So before we go, is there anything you'd like, any little gem you'd like to leave us with?
I just want to say thank you for this invitation. It's been very humbling, and I appreciate everything you're doing for the nursing community, highlighting their journey on how they became a nurse, why they became a nurse, up to their current state. So I just pray that your podcast continue to flourish and continue to soar, because this platform is really exposing not so much just LinkedIn on the social media, but just in the world, or what nurses can do, what nurses
Yes.
are doing,
Yes.
whether it's at the direct bedside or at, like me as an entrepreneur, we have a lot of transferable skill sets that
Indeed.
are invaluable, whatever that client based need is, we are invaluable professionals. And nursing is a wonderful profession. It's a wonderful, wonderful profession, and I love it.
It is indeed. It is indeed. I cannot think of anything in retrospect. I have been a nurse for 49 plus years now. I've been a registered nurse for more than that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I cannot think of anything else that I would rather have done. Well, there are things that I would have liked to do, but I don't think there's anything I would rather have been. So yeah. Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank you so much for this. I
I
truly
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. I
I
love
appreciate it
talking
as
to you.
well. Thank you.
Okay.